belt, so I kind of wanted to do podcasting and stuff like that. If that makes sense.
Cool, man.
So I've did that like back in 2014. Like I had some roles on and off, but not anything since then. So I just been doing my own thing with this podcast because I've been interviewing a bunch of people. I interviewed Alex Hernandez from Mafia 3 and all that. So this is like the first person I ever got from Call of Duty, and I've been playing that for years. So
yeah.
But yeah,
cool, man.
Let me start by saying thank you for joining me on the podcast. This is episode 28, but episode 28, but for everybody watching, this is Mr. Neil. How you pronounce your last name? Ellice?
Yeah, that works.
I knew I was gonna pronounce it wrong, but this is Mr. Neil, and if you don't know him, he's our lovely Mr. Soap from Modern Warfare 2. John Soap McTavish. I hope I did that correctly.
Yeah, sure did.
But
blowing my nose.
Yeah, yeah, that makes a lot of sense because
you're a big gamer, huh? You're a big fan of games.
Yep, I've been a big fan of games for a long time. My very first game was a Sonic Adventure back in I'm a big Sonic fan, so that back in that time. So I've been on and off, back and forth. Started playing COD back in 2003 and has been ongoing since. But I was one of those fans that regardless of the story, I've been dedicated since then. So I'm one of those big time Call of Duty fans, the loyalists they call it.
Right.
But
what did you think about the new when you heard there was going to be a new soap?
Oh, for me, when I heard it was going to be a new soap, I was like, new or not, Soap is still 141, so he's still going to be the same vicious, dangerous Soap that we all know about. So it wasn't no disrespect to the previous voice actors and everything, because everybody gets older and stuff like that. Some goes a different career. So and in all honesty,
just different stories.
Yeah, in all honesty, because I've heard of your work before. Before you started, you were Soap in Warzone and Modern Warfare 2 this year. So I was quite used to it. And then when I heard that, you were announced, I was like, they chose the perfect person to play Soap. Because
well, there aren't too many Scottish people that are living close by to the performance capture stage there. So I think
really?
luck favors the brave, as they say.
I mean, in all honesty, from playing the game and kind of learning Soap, and I guess if you want to include Ghost from this aspect of this new story, it kind of, opened my eyes to, the character wise, and, opened my eyes to a lot of things on how to, since Soap is I think he's a sergeant, right? In this one? Yeah,
right now,
yeah, he's a sergeant in this one. So it kind of helped me understand very young and very, very astonishable Soap. And I say by astonishable is like he's, still getting used to the whole thing and stuff like that. And then he's part of 141. He trained with Price, Ghost, Gas, whoever is part of the crew. But
that's the 141. Price is in charge. Then I think Ghost is the LT.
The second, the LT.
Yeah. And then you got Gaz and Soap right now. Obviously, in the the original ones, it was different, right? Soap was a captain.
Yeah, Soap was a captain.
But it's there's this way, I think, with this multiverse version, it seems to be happening in all across DC, Marvel, Activision, all these cinematic and gaming worlds. They wanted to start some of these characters a little bit lower down and give them somewhere to go. So yeah, you're right. He starts off as the new guy again, he's definitely a little bit more perhaps naive than some of the other guys are, and wanting a quick win every time. But his character will progress, hopefully, over time, and as he goes through different levels of combat and missions and so forth.
I completely agree with that because for when it came to Modern Warfare 2, which I was just playing an hour ago, actually, I was playing Shipment. But when it came to the story
The
of
the
how
original or is the 2022?
2022.
Okay.
2022. I got the original on here too, but
I
the
bet you do.
2022 version. Yeah.
Yeah.
But when it comes to that one, I think this version of Modern Warfare I think they kind of explain the type of, character that Soap was that, the previous stores was lacking because, we in the previous game we knew Soap as this, this big buff Scottish fellow that,
Right.
that will, knock some heads off and slit some throats whenever he gets the chance. And with the story of how it was explained now, I think it kind of explained, first the character development, because character development is very important when it comes to
it's
story.
Now in 4K gaming, it's a different world.
Yeah, it is, and the way the cutscenes was just branched out, I was just like, okay. And I was playing a game or watching a movie, so it was it was very astonishing, like seeing that type of thing, and as a writer and. I guess as a former mocap person, like seeing that type of thing.
Yeah, you said you've done some of this stuff before.
Yeah, and like seeing that type of thing brought up is just, is like really realistic. And then back to Soap, it was just like during the whole game, it felt like, he was going through, since they was dealing with, the Mexican cartel, the Russians, all that too. He kind of was going through his character development and building up throughout the missions. So,
well, it seems like you have an appreciation for that idea of, and I can't really speak to the writing of the game or this Call of Duty universe Bible that I think does exist now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's about the game mechanic and the level and the design and the AI, the whole thing, all incredibly important. And I know that essentially what I do is come in and kind of provide a skin for the game. But it's at this point, guys like the head writer, Brian Bloom, and the director Jeff Nagus, they want this to go somewhere, and so you've got to start somewhere that you can develop characters from as well. I mean, they didn't start. I'll give you an example, right? Soap's a sergeant. He's the new guy. He's just earning his respect from more seasoned pros like Simon Riley. So they've started him there. He's a bit more kind of naive and bright-eyed and just wants to win. And then he realizes, of course, that it's not that way. As far as him being big and burly go, I am what I am. I mean, I'm not, the 6'2". There's been a bit of joking on the internet about how short I am. I'm legitimately not that short.
And the funny thing, I'm at least a height taller than you.
No, I know what. In the terms of the screen, yeah, I maybe need to kind of change the angle here. There you go. I'm massive now. But yeah, I mean, he's it's more realistic. I mean, I'll tell you, like, look, I'm not 6 foot, and I'm not certainly not 6'2", 6'3", like some of these other fantastic actors that are there. Some of the SEAL Team 6 guys who were with us, I mean, same height as me, smaller. I mean, these guys are lethal, though. I mean, these are lethal people. And I think in the teams as well, they do have a whole range of guys that some are they're all built differently. But to your point about character development, I mean, they don't start off Simon Riley with a mask off. And you've got to ask yourself, like, is that going to go somewhere? Are they going to go into that? Like, why does he wear the ghost mask? I think that's a very, very interesting, because it's not just for giggles. I don't think it's at this point in terms of the storytelling that they want to do it. It's not just oh, he wears a mask and he wears a skull mask. There's a story. There's going to be a story behind that. I think I read online that Brian Bloom said that that's one of the storylines that they'd love to explore. So, and I hope they do as well. I think Sam Rudkin would be awesome at that.
Yeah. And since you brought that up, so because from that mass perspective, and when you bring up Ghost and how naive Soap, seemed to be, in my opinion, I didn't feel Soap was like, naive. I felt like he was, branching into, a new world and everything. Cause like on that first mission with Alejandro, he was saying, he's never been to Mexico. He's not used to guns on the street. He's not used to, a cartel member selling, balloons to kids. So that was kind of a new environment for the Soap to branch into. And then when you brought up Ghost just now and then the mask and everything, because I know it was the banter between, the characters back and forth between missions and stuff like that, which I found was hilarious.
Oh, great.
And when you say, they brought up a story, did you know that Ghost beforehand for the new Modern Warfare series came out, that he had his own comic series before?
Yeah, I did. No, not before being cast, because I just wasn't deeply into it. Like, I go to comic. I'm a huge fan of all of this stuff. I'd been more focused on film and TV, honestly.
Yeah.
Than games. When I got the job, I knew that there was a Soaps journal. And the more research I did, I saw that also as well that Ghost had a comic book series. I think that both the journal and the comic book series were what's the word? Shepherded
kind of
by the studio, by Infinity Ward, I think. Of course, now it's a whole new deal, right? But yeah, I mean, I knew about the comics and that they'd explored his character in that, which is cool. I think I'd love to see more comics. I'd love to see more of that stuff.
Yeah. And the reason I brought that up because from playing the game and kind of reading the comics and stuff like that from years before, I got them around here somewhere, but it's probably around dust. But from reading the comics and then like watching, the character, the brotherhood banter between Soap and Ghost and everything, and watching, how Ghost's development is and everything. It was kind of a lot of similarities between, because from watching, how he was, and like you can notice how he's always in the back room when that cut scene with Valeria happening. He's always in the shadows. Even
he is in a betrayal scene as well.
Yeah. And, oh no, you can go ahead.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
But in the comics, they kind of brought that to light, because he's always, since that incident happened, because I don't know if you read the comic, because I'm not gonna spoil anything for you, but once you read the comic, since that incident happened, with his family, he's always been been in the back, regardless of watching everybody that he encounters and everything. And as you've seen from the the first mission in the game, he was like Sergeant, and that he really didn't want to team up with Soap to begin with. But since the mission, he's going to have no choice, because Shepard, aka Backstabber, says otherwise.
Yeah, you're so observant. I think it's great. I love being interviewed by you, because you're clearly you're not just a fan, but you're also, as you said, like a writer, and you've read the comics, and you've done some of this work yourself. So you appreciate the character development. Like, all of that's deliberate. I mean, you can that's all Brian Bloom developing these characters, putting two guys together, one who's not as experienced as the others, with possibly the most deadliest one, and let's just see how.
To me, he was the most deadliest one.
Yeah, and he you know, he there's a lot of mystery surrounding him, and then you want to take that somewhere. So that's where it starts when they come off the tarmac, and you know, it goes all the way through to the mission and alone, where Ghost really helps Soap out, and a big part there, right, is that he starts to call him Johnny, you know, which is would be very unusual for Ghost to refer to someone by their first name. I don't want to speak on Samuel's behalf, of course, or Brian's behalf. But I think I remember on set it was like, this is unusual, and it's also unusual that Soap would let him call him something by his first name. You know, it's you've got to remember, these guys are an elite squad. It's like you know, they use each other's call signs, not their real first names. And Alejandro talks about that as well. He doesn't let on where his family. He doesn't give out any personal information about himself. He's just here to do a job.
Yeah. And when you brought up Alejandro and all that, and how proud of, you know, he is with his family, and I noticed, you know, Soap is like that, like that as well. But since we brought up, you know, 141 and everyone, because in my opinion, because I have a group chat with some friends, you know, on Modern Warfare 2, because, you know, we was that dedicated in the game. We still are.
Yeah, that's right.
We know, we tallied up, you know, which is so the deadliest of you know, deadliest of 141 members. And majority of everyone on Twitter, it was a 55% tie between Soap and Ghost and Price. I mean, Gas had 49%, but you know, he was still deadly and everything.
Oh yeah, sure.
But
well, Ghost has the mask. I mean, I think that's the you know, he's definitely, if you're thinking about, like, you know, their histories, like, he's got
Ghost is a powerhouse.
Yeah, and he's got there's a lot of, if you're looking at like the myth of it, you know, he's definitely got a lot of mystery to him.
Yeah, Ghost is he's a powerhouse, but when it comes to Soap, to me, he's a powerhouse as well. But I think he's that, what's that word that I use for one of my characters? He's more of a sneaky powerhouse. And what I mean by that is, okay, the enemies think that, okay, he's part of this dangerous squad, but he's not as dangerous as, you know, these other three members, right? But then when he encounters them, he's be like, oh shoot. And then, you know, it ends up being worse than before. That's what I call a sneaky powerhouse. He is basically, they don't know how deadly the character is till they actually encounter that character.
Well, so look what happens in that mansion scene, in the mansion level, right? I mean, the one that Brian pitted against Valeria, where the decision the player has to make, right, is literally cutthroat, you know. And if I would think most players decide that they do it, right, if they want to complete that level and continue the game. And so that's the choices that Soap is being presented with, and characters' choices, right? So character is what choices you make in certain situations, and I don't think Soap had been in one like that before. So you're going to see an evolution of him. I mean, he's going to become certainly not necessarily more battle hardened, but in terms of having to face difficult and deadly and tricky moral decisions. That's you know, that's what's going to be happening.
I won't lie. When I first did that mission in the mansion, I was like, oh gosh, Ghost, what are you? I mean, not Ghost. Oh gosh, so what are you doing? Because from playing the previous Modern Warfare, it's like Soap was always a favorite character of mine, and Ghost was always a favorite character. But I was just like, they are not doing this so soon. And then I got the choices right firsthand, because I was like, okay, what to say? Okay, I played the missions. I played the missions when I was in the heli and just destroying everybody. And then I'm looking at the cutscenes. I'll be like, okay, Philip Grace said, give him intel. That's what I'm gonna do. I almost messed up at the part when she said, who's responsible for the you know, the shadow company. Right. I almost chose Alejandro. I was like, no. That's Philip Graves. And then so
Well,
that
I
the
think
choice.
she did an amazing job. Um, is it Maria? I think it is
Yeah,
Camargo.
Maria. Yeah, she
Yeah,
did an
like
amazing job.
fantastic. Yeah, it was a really fun to shoot that scene. And I can see, when you're under pressure in the moment and you're not quite sure where these answers are going to lie, but then Alejandro does say, just, tell the truth. The
And
rest
then
I've
not
got to
only
do.
and then not only that, you had the time limit right there too. So the time limit was not helping me out. I was like,
Right.
okay,
Yeah,
because it was so bad to the point where I was like, okay,
yeah.
I should not be sweating when it comes
Yeah,
to a
yeah,
choice
yeah. Oh, that's
game.
great. Wow, it's good though. I mean, it's such a compliment to everyone that was to everyone that worked in that scene, because it worked.
Yeah, because
It was meant to trying to make you feel like that. That's great.
man, I commented on I forgot his name, the one that played Alejandro. I
Elaine
forgot his name.
Mesa,
Yeah, Elaine. Thank you. I commented on his post and I was telling him,
fantastic
I was like,
actor.
yeah, he's awesome. I was telling him, I was like, I will never forgive you guys for the stretch y'all put me through the mansion mission. He replied with, he said, "Did you at least sneak through?" I was like, "Yes, I did. I made sure
There you go.
every throat was slit."
There you go.
But that mission was just it was just scary. But
Yeah, very well
um
designed.
but um but I'm a fast forward to
Yeah.
the ending, right?
Hmm.
So I don't know if you noticed, right? But everyone is already hyped for Modern Warfare 3, right?
Hmm.
And I know you don't know anything off the bat already, and everything is too early to tell.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
for me and my friends had like a 6 hour conversation about this,
Hmm.
and we were saying to one of our friends that I agree with, she was saying, "Oh, Soap is going to do some major damage when it comes to the next game because not only that, um, it's up to you if you want to look at previous cutscenes from like Modern Warfare and everything because Soap did a lot of damage. He was destroying everybody in Modern Warfare, the previous Modern Warfare 2,
Right.
including this one as well. But
Hmm.
she was saying like something is just gonna snap in him. It'd
Interesting.
be like she said something's gonna snap in him because you're not dealing with any type of villain from the ending sequence that you guys shot. Like you're dealing with Vladimir Makarov, like
Right.
one of the most dangerous Call of Duty villains of all time. And since this is a new universe and everything, we don't know how deadly this version is going to be. So,
Right. Right.
because she did send the question about that, and I'm gonna read it to you in a second.
Well, I think
But
you make a really great point about soap, and that's that level in the
mhm,
mansion
mhm,
uh, pushes him to the limit, right? And he has to end up
yeah,
essentially murdering someone uh,
mhm,
who, I mean, they're in bed with the bad guys, but he could have made another decision at the time, and
yeah,
so you may see that. Um, he's gone. Once you go past a certain threshold,
yeah,
um, and you realize it's a little bit like Batman said in the Dark Knight, right? That he didn't. His one rule was he wasn't going to kill anyone,
mhm,
and so the Joker's game was to get him to break his one rule.
yeah,
And I think he did, right? It wasn't direct, but somebody got
yeah,
killed, and it was kind of on his
yeah,
hands, and that's why they're all
yeah,
chasing him at the end of that film. But
mhm,
when you create a rule for yourself, um, or you experience conflict in a way that perhaps you're breaking your own moral code, have you is that has the floodgates been opened, so yeah, maybe that's
mhm,
something that they'll explore in the next one.
yeah. I think they're gonna do that as well because the reason I brought that up because from the ending sequence that you guys shot,
Hmm.
everybody for me as a writer, like it was a cool scene seeing 141 obviously still alive. So obviously seeing that from the heartbreak that I received from the previous Modern Warfare's,
Right.
but I was mostly focused on the facial reactions, right? because when Laswell gave the picture of Makarov to Price, right? And then he looks at it and he's like, wait a second, he's not new, right? And the anticipation from everybody's reaction just kind of got me hyped up. And I was focused on his, and he was like, "Oh boy, we got to do this again." And then he turned the car to gas. He's like, "Oh boy." And then he brings it to Soap, and Soap. When I was looking at Soap's reaction, and I was like, okay, either he knows what he's getting into, or he doesn't know how Makarov is. Like he was more like, Jesus, bloody Christ.
Right.
And then if you look at Ghost's reaction, like for me, I feel like they're gonna tie in, Makarov's backstory with Ghost somehow. Because like the way he looked at it, he was like, and then that part right there, I'd be like, okay, Ghost, mainly Ghost. So somebody is going to, like have a major character development in the next game, because as a writer, when you look at people's facial reactions, like you want to tell them to tell the story and everything. And facial reactions just, it brings out the best story. It brings out, everything, like that scene when Shepard turned on everybody. It's not like the OG one, but it was still crazy. But how Soap's demeanor changed, because I'm sure he dealt with betrayal, but not to that level of betrayal before, especially from his own Colonel. I think that's what Shepard was. Yeah, Colonel Shepard. But
General Shepard.
General
Yeah,
Shepard,
you're
excuse
right.
me.
Yeah,
But
you're right.
I think that whole demeanor changed for Ghost, because not only that, you're still trying to focus on getting Hassan and everything, and just making sure that's the main mission and everything. We got him at the end, but that whole demeanor just changed so to that mission where you had to go through the outskirts of Mexico and make sure you don't encounter Shadow Company. But that whole thing, and then the dialogues and everything, like that kind of taught me that, okay, Soap's character development, like at top notch when it came to that. It was just crazy.
Yeah, I mean, you make some great points. I think Price knows, obviously,
Yeah.
who this guy is.
Yeah.
Do the others? Does Soap? Less clear. But yeah, I mean, Price knows exactly who he is. And what's really clever about that is that so do we. You know who he is. The community knows. This is the next big bad.
Yeah.
Things could get pretty crazy, because he was responsible for No Russian, right?
Yeah.
That is a legacy character that has
a lot of heat onto it.
Yeah, well, whose legacy is dark. And
so
that's maybe the type of place where the 141 and others maybe are going to have to go.
Yeah, I think so as well, because when it came to that ending after beating the game, because I got like 270 hours into the game already. When it comes to that, I wasn't even thinking about it until the other day after I replayed the story again. I was just like, oh shoot. So not only does in the next one they have to deal with Shadow Company, they got to deal with Shepard, Makarov, and whoever is part of I think the name of the group, it's called the Spetsnaz, but
also as well, like, there wasn't any Graves, his body was not in the wreckage, right? Or found. So Valeria escapes. Elaine is Alejandro, and Rodolfo, who's played by Bayardo. Those guys are still kicking it as well. So I think they're very smart to they've left a lot of doors open whilst introducing potentially a new big bad, which is exciting, right? And that's why
Yeah,
I love to do this stuff.
yeah, and it's good that you brought up Graves too, because if I remember correctly, back in
Wasn't he
2000,
incredible, by the way? Like Warren Cole, like
oh, he
such a good
played.
actor. Yeah,
He was awesome. He played
yeah,
Graves like he played Graves perfect, in my
yeah.
opinion. But
Right.
it's good that you brought him up because I
Yeah.
was like, okay, I didn't see a dead body. Like, is he gonna come out
On the
someplace and just?
tank. Yeah.
But I thought he was gonna come out and shoot like soap in the shoulder or
That's what I
something.
thought too, but it didn't happen. So I
Yeah,
don't
so
know.
I
I
thought,
just speculation. I don't know. But he's
yeah, so I thought that was gonna happen. But I was like, okay, is he actually burnt to a crisp? But we don't know.
could be.
But
I
then
mean, he could be.
yeah, and then I realized I was like, okay, now that I thought about it, because back in '05, when playing the other Call of Duty, the original Graves had a burnt mark going down his right side of his shoulder to his body. So I was like, okay, I'm
Interesting.
not gonna I'm not gonna second guess that he's dead, right?
Right.
Because he had the original Graves had a burnt mark. Don't know how he burned himself because they didn't really explain that. He just explained that, it was an accident and everything. And you know, it
Yeah,
was
and
just
if he
mainly
was ruthless before, what's he going to be like now? Yeah, I mean,
exactly.
I hadn't even thought about it like that. But yeah, it just
Yeah.
shows you how many possibilities there are and how deeply Brian and these guys care about the characters and really want to create a universe of possibilities. Um,
Yeah.
it's exciting.
I think when it came to that type of thing, because I forgot the name of the person. So Brian's responsible for the writing the story, right?
Yeah, so
Directing the
there's a
story.
number of
Okay.
yeah, and Justin Harris is also one of the
Okay.
writers. Brian is the the chief, as it were.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Okay. But
And
yeah,
then
because
Jeff Negus is the narrative director.
okay.
Jeff did the direction on The Last of Us.
Hmm.
That's
Ooh.
just that's his most recent credit. But yeah, also an incredible guy and really lovely human being and a great director to work with. Did a lot of handheld movement um, on set, which was just made it like you were in a film. It was really cool.
Hmm. Yeah. And and it makes sense. And it makes sense. And hats off to them because in my opinion,
Yeah,
I think they brought a very
a minor in it. Yeah, I hear
yeah,
you.
but when it comes to that, hats off to them because in my opinion, I think they written a very intense,
Hmm.
in my opinion, intense, modern warfare. I mean, Call of Duty story in a while because Infinity War. These are different companies making the games and stuff like that. So I think they brought out the intensity back that, in my opinion, that Call of Duty was missing for
Mm.
quite a while. Like the modern warfare, like just like cut out the new modern warfare. But like that story brought the intensity as well, and I'll explain that
Right.
in a second. But
Do you mean like
but
I mean the game was just as intense, but I think you're talking about the relationships between the characters adding at that
yeah,
level. Yeah,
yeah, that's what I
especially
mean.
Alejandro's relationship with one of the bad guys. Yeah,
Valeria, yes,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. But I think they explain a lot in modern warfare, and then of course you got the season passes and